Hi, everyone. I'm Lisa D'Amico, and I'm with the Rockland Arts Festival. And I have the pleasure today of speaking with Wendy Villa. Wendy, it is so nice to speak with you. Your
Very
work
nice to talk to
is
you too.
beautiful. You're the kind of painter I want to live in your paintings because you create such a really almost embracing and calming aesthetic with the way you work. I'm curious to know how your influence, where does your inspiration come from for your pieces?
Yeah, and thank you for saying that. Very nice to see you today. I'm glad that you said that you want to live in my paintings because I want to live in my paintings sometimes. I take my inspiration from travel. So I love traveling, and every time that I go to a new place, you may have seen a sky, you may have seen a mountain, a cloud, but I think the feeling of the place, of whatever you go, kind of permeates over that particular place in the feel and the emotion and the colors. The sky is a different color everywhere. So I try to put that in my paintings, and going back to those times when I was there. So yeah, that's my inspiration.
When you work on your pieces, and this is from one painter to another,
Yeah.
do you work individually, meaning like do you work on one painting at a time, or do you work on multiples simultaneously?
Funny that you say that. I actually am working on two paintings right now, and it's the first time that I'm doing that. I normally kind of concentrate on one painting, and maybe while I'm doing that, I'm putting gesso in other paintings, or sometimes I do also resin work, and I may do that on the side. But as far as painting, I try to go into one painting at a time. This time I'm working on two paintings, and they're very different. So I haven't done this before. I'll let you know after I'm done, but one is very dark and the other one is very actually soft and light. So I'm like, okay, let's see how that goes.
Tell me a little bit about your beginnings as an artist. Have
Mhm.
you been drawing and painting your whole life? Did this come later? Like,
Yeah.
take us there.
The actual pursuit of painting has come later. I'm actually staring at a painting that I did at work like 5 years ago, and it was like little trees with a. So I've always been painting. I have always been a creative person. Started, crocheting and knitting and scrapbooking, whatever it was. Always doing something with my hands. About 3, 4 years ago, started working with resin. And I
Mhm.
wanted to move away from resin. Mostly, I didn't want to breathe the fumes of resin, even though I was wearing respirator gloves, the whole
Yeah.
thing. I just wanted to be a little more free in the way that I express myself, and painting came to me, and I've been leaning a lot into that, and I'm loving it.
When you start a piece, um, does it, because some artists work very meticulously. When they
Mhm.
start a piece, it ends the way they visualized it in their heads.
Yeah.
Is that way with your work, or are there kind of, you know, side roads you take, and it kind of
Yeah.
takes you on a different journey than maybe you anticipated?
Yeah, I always think because I'm an overthinker, and I do like to I work on spreadsheets, I have lists. So in my head I think like I have a plan, but it never turns out the way that I think because all of a sudden I'm like, you know what? This one needs a little thing here. It was not in the plan, it was not on the list, but I just go with it and I start like feeling the feeling of the painting. And I think a lot of that experience of living the actual landscape that I saw, it starts to permeate into the painting. So I try to communicate some of that feel in the texture that I add or the colors that I'm using, that it deviates from the initial, list that I had in my head.
Huh. As a painter, are there any challenges or lessons that you've worked through that you didn't expect? Like anything kind of unexpected, in terms of challenges.
I think the challenge for me personally is the idea of less is more. A lot of times I'm inspired by other painters. I look at your work, I look at other, I'm like, oh, I could try that. And I really need to tailor myself because again, too much could be too much. So I'm trying to just like, you know what, tailor myself and try to not go crazy because then a painting would never be done. So that has been really a challenge for me and know when to say I'm done. That's
Yeah.
enough. Stop now.
That's hard for us artists
Yes.
to know when something's finished.
Yes. Somebody told me to put the painting upside down. and just put it somewhere. So you look at it, you just leave it there, put it upside down, you stop looking at it. And then when you turn it, you see it in a different way. And I'm like, I'm gonna try that. When I say like I'm done, I'm gonna turn it upside down, put it to the side, and I will look at it in the same way because otherwise I'm gonna continue to go back at it. So I'm gonna try that in the next one.
I might steal that. I'll let you know if it works.
Yeah.
If you had to describe your style, what would you tell somebody who hasn't seen your work?
Mhm. That is tough to say. How would I describe my style? Again, because I am influenced by travel, it's an invitation, I would say. It's an invitation to come see what I've seen, to come feel what I felt, and perhaps feel something different when you're looking at it. So, yeah, it's an invitation.
What advice would you give to somebody who's just starting out?
I would say don't give up and be patient. Because a lot of times, unfortunately, in the age of social media, we tend to compare ourselves to others, especially as a beginner. I was like, oh my God, they're doing this and I'm not doing that. And you see these beautiful, paintings and aesthetics, right? And you see a little glimpse of what somebody's doing. You don't know the whole process. So you're comparing your insides with somebody else's outside. And I think that that's a big one, right? Not to do that.
That's really well said, I have to say. Is there anything else you would want to share with everyone before we go?
Well, just, come. I would like to invite again everybody to come and look at my work and don't give up as an artist. Yeah, I'm really, really thankful to have the opportunity to speak to you. I'm glad that they opened more, a little more sessions, and I had the opportunity to talk to you.
Before we go, I would just like to tell everyone to please follow you. And if they get the opportunity to see your work in person, to jump on that, and to have your work in their home. Because, like I said in the beginning, when we started speaking, it takes you somewhere else where you feel just good and you feel like, you can do anything. I want to live in your paintings, and I know other people will too.
Thank you so much, Lisa. Thank you.
Thank you, Wendy.